What's up, friends? Today we are talking about a much loved shoe from Saucony, and also a shoe that has been missing for a couple of years. But not to worry, it's back now. This is the Hurricane. Saucony has brought back the Hurricane with version 24. Let's get into it. Okay, right off the bat, this video is in collaboration with my friends over at Roadrunner Sports. Roadrunner Sports was good enough to send me this pair of the Hurricane 24 for the purpose of review. However, as always, they haven't told me what to say, they don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. So with that said, you can pick up a pair of the Saucony Hurricane 24 from Roadrunner Sports for $160. Now, if you liked the Hurricane 23, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to like the Hurricane 24, because Saucony has made some big changes. And I think overall they are very good changes. But of course, that's for you to decide. The Hurricane 24 now has 38mm in the heel, 32 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. So remember, the previous version had 33.5 in the heel, 25.5 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. So we have increased the stack height and lowered the drop. I think that's a good combo for this type of shoe. Now remember, the Hurricane 24 is a stability shoe, but this time Saucony relies on inherent stabilization. But we'll get into those stability elements in just a second. So this is a max cushion stability trainer, and the weight does reflect that. Saucony claims that in a US men's size 9, the Hurricane 24 would tip the scale at 10.6 ounces or 300 grams, which means in my size, a US men's size 13, it tips the scale at 13.1 ounces or 371 grams. So of course, needless to say, because of the weight mainly, the shoe is going to be much better suited to easy runs, even to walking or casual wear. But it is a running shoe, and that is what I am basing this evaluation on. I did nothing but run in this shoe. Just from running in it, I think it would also translate well to a walking shoe. So as always, let's start at the top. Let's work our way down. I'm going to hold up this, and I really like this. Now this is a max cushion daily trainer. Again, sorry to repeat myself, but you know how some max cushion daily trainers have a super plush heel collar? The Hurricane 24 does not, and that's a good thing, because sometimes I think a lot of brands really overdo this padding on the heel collar, and the Hurricane 24 has exactly what you need and none of what you don't. It's relatively quite thin, and yet it still feels nice and plush around your heel. We got a tiny little heel pull right on the back, which I can barely get my finger through. I think this is really just for show. And then the heel counter is super rigid, which I would expect nothing less, especially in a stability shoe, but also especially in a daily trainer. That just tends to be the way it goes. Anyway, because of this, no heel slip whatsoever. The step-in feel was nice. I felt very secure once my foot was in the shoe. Oh, and the Hurricane 24 does fit me true to size. It fits me the same, maybe even better than some other Saucony shoes. And the only reason I say that it fits me better than some other Saucony shoes is because when I tied these on, I didn't find the eyelets were so close together when I tied it down. There aren't too many overlays on this shoe. We have some branding on some TPU coming from the back up to the eyelet chain. Got an underlay coming around the toe box, which creates a very roomy toe box when your feet are in there. Of course, coming along the eyelet chain, we have a little bit of reinforcement. Got the Saucony S right here. And now that we're up at the eyelet chain, let me show you this. You see these little orange tabs? Rather than just having loops in the eyelet chain, we have these little orange tabs which tie into the middle part of the upper. So when you pull those laces tight, it creates a little tension on the side, thereby increasing the midfoot lockdown. And it seems to work. I did have an excellent midfoot lockdown on these Hurricane 24. Okay, the tongue is just like this heel collar. It is surprisingly thin for this type of shoe. And just like the heel collar, I think that is an excellent thing. Now, we already know that the shoe is a bit heavy, but the tongue isn't what is contributing to that weight. The tongue has seemingly the right amount of padding for the job it's doing. It's not overly plush, and yet it is nice and soft on your foot, and when your laces are tied down, does its job by stopping the laces from biting into the top of your foot. The tongue is not gusseted, but we do have a little orange lace loop right here in the middle, and that lace loop seemed to do the trick. I didn't have any tongue migration while I was running. So now let's come down to the midsole. And the midsole is really where Saucony has made the biggest changes in this shoe, not just because of the midsole compound, but also because this is where they've added the stack height, this is where they've reduced the drop. But on the Hurricane 24, Saucony is using a dual density midsole foam. And this top layer right here is, can you guess? If you said Power Run PB, you'd be correct. So yes, Saucony is using their top of the line PBA foam. It's the same foam that is using the Endorphin Speed 4, partially used in the Endorphin Pro 4, and now that is included in this max cushion stability shoe. Now it's not all Power Run PB. We can actually see the Power Run PB right here on the top, and then this other color is Power Run. And there's a reason that Saucony has done this. Now the Power Run PB is there for that super soft step-in feel. It's going to feel somewhat plush underfoot. We're going to get good rebound from the Power Run PB, and then that Power Run foam is going to give you just a little more structure. It's also potentially going to be a little more resilient. I think the Hurricane 24 is going to last you for a long time. Now before we talk more about the midsole, let me just come down to the outsole. You can see we've got a good amount of outsole rubber, or at least rubber in the key places. We've got it right up here on the forefoot, a good amount of rubber here on the lateral heel edge, and a little section right here that I don't think anyone is actually touching. I am seeing a little bit of wear on my lateral heel edge, which for me is totally to be expected, especially in a shoe of this weight, and that I would really only be running slow in this shoe. Now, if I hold this shoe up, you are going to see some of the stability elements right in front of you. And you may not know it to see it, but right here on the medial side, we have additional Power Run foam. You can see this comes down sort of level to the outsole rubber. Well, it's not totally level because I'm not seeing much wear, but the point of having this additional foam on the medial side is to stop your foot from collapsing in too much. That is, if you need those stability elements to help keep your foot tracking the way it should. But also, if I hold it up again, you can see this white foam right in the middle. That's Power Run PB, folks. Now remember, when I held it up, I pointed out that just this top layer here was Power Run PB. Well, the Power Run PB actually is this top layer, and then it comes all the way down to the bottom. So what we've got coming around the outside is almost like a frame of Power Run foam. Now, if you are familiar with previous versions of the Hurricane, you know that the Hurricane used to have a TPU frame for support. Now, Saucony and a lot of other brands are getting away from that level of control, and they're using more of an inherent stability. So think foam rather than plastic pieces. So back to the Hurricane 24 with a Power Run PB on the top coming through the middle, and then the outer frame of Power Run. This is Saucony's center path technology. And the center path technology is really exactly as it sounds. The shoe is designed to keep your foot centered and moving forward. So these sidewalls of the foam come up quite high here on the lateral and on the medial side. And then we've got that softer Power Run PB that your foot is going to sink down into. And then it is supported around the outside by the Power Run. I think it's a good idea. And I think it seems to work. I think if you need a stability shoe or you like to run in a stability shoe, I think the Hurricane 24 is going to be a good option. But I do have to say that if you are a neutral runner and you like to run in a stability shoe, at least for me, I found the Hurricane 24 to be a little too controlling. So I do test several stability shoes a year. It's definitely a small segment of the shoes that I test. But I tell you, most of the time, I find that they don't feel much different from a neutral daily trainer. And I always put that down to the fact that I am a neutral runner. I don't need the stability elements when they're in a shoe, and so they kind of go unused and I can just run in the shoe like a normal shoe. The Hurricane 24 did feel a little more controlled for me. Now, if I hold this up like this, we can see we have a little bit of a heel bevel in the back, then we've got the rocker in the front, and if we look at it this way, we can say we do have quite a wide base. I mean, maybe it's easier to show you from the bottom again. This is a very wide shoe. From the top, we can see this sole flare comes out quite far. And I'm showing you these things because to me, the Hurricane 24 ran kind of clunky. And I wish I could think of a better word, and perhaps it's just my running style, but I didn't find the Hurricane 24 was a very smooth running shoe. And after my first run, I did take it off and I did look at this heel bevel because I found that when I am coming down on the lateral heel edge, it just felt like there was a lot of foam back here. And then the shoe kind of whips me into shape and keeps me on the center path, and it kind of felt like I was being manhandled. Wait, can I say manhandled? Person handled. Anyway, it wasn't the smoothest running experience. I did find it very comfortable. However, if this is the first daily trainer with Power Run PB and your only other experience with Power Run PB has been in the Endorphin Speed or the Endorphin Pro, this is not the same Power Run PB as those shoes. I'm quite sure Saucony has tweaked the formulation just a little bit, maybe to make it a little firmer, a little more resilient, because ultimately in a shoe like this, you are going to be running a lot more volume than you would in either the Speed or the Pro. So the Power Run PB needs to stand up to a little more punishment. So even though the Hurricane 24, it is very comfortable, it doesn't feel responsive. When I was running in this shoe, I had no desire to pick up the pace. I was just going out for very easy and recovery runs. So my opinion is that that is what this shoe is going to be ideal for, those very easy recovery runs and definitely walking. After my testing period in the Hurricane 24, I think I would prefer to use this shoe as a walking shoe, just because even with the 38 millimeters in the heel, because of that center path technology, you are sitting just a little bit lower and you did feel nice and cocooned in that shoe. It didn't feel unstable because of the stack height whatsoever. So now it's your turn. I want to hear from you. Have you ever run in the Hurricane? Have you been looking forward to the Hurricane 24? Drop a comment and let me know. And again, I will place links in the show notes below in case you want to pick up a pair of the Hurricane 24 from yourself from Roadrunner Sports. And with that, it's Matt B. This has been my review of the Saucony Hurricane 24. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.